Hello, Tanya here from MySlope.com, here with a pattern drafting / pattern hacking tutorial based on a question that I got. So this is the question. I was asked how we could use the MySlope tools and combine and mix and match to come up with this as a final look. And it's a lot easier than you think. So the three tools that we're going to use is the one-piece swim leotard, the open back leotard, and the asymmetrical skirt tool. And yeah, let's just hop into MySlope and I'll show you the steps. So let's start with the front piece here. So we have this plunging moment. I'm not sure how it's constructed, so my method is going to be based on that, on my ideas on how it's constructed. And yeah, so we hop into the one-piece swimsuit pattern. I'm using a Missy Curvy size 6 just for the demo, and I'm drafting in centimeters. My brain. We're going to use contour coverage because this is a dance costume, so we do want more coverage. And then the magic happens with the pattern options here. So strap width and the neckline above the bust line. Remember, we're just going to be using the front. We're going to be using the front panel for this, with this tool for this pattern. And yeah, so I set my strap width to 5 because this looks pretty thick. This looks about an inch or 2 inches. So that's about 5 centimeters. That's 2 inches. And I am setting the neckline distance above the bust line to negative numbers, so it plunges down instead of up. So we can see -16, we're coming close to the waistline. And depending on what your measurements are, your vertical measurements, you might need to play with this negative number to get the final effect. And the tools technically aren't meant to do this. So the program is trying to resolve and have like a nice curve. So you might, if you're plunging, if the combination of the strap width and plunging down might make the bottom of that line kick out like so. But if you're drafting by hand, you could easily just draw in a line to connect it, or if you're using Adobe Illustrator, you can kind of play with it. So yeah, this is the -16. We actually have a pretty nice curve here, and then we put 5 centimeters for the strap width. If we look at this side of the costume, we see that it's around 2 inches for the strap width, and there's no gathers. If we look on this side, it looks like there's some gathers. So what I would do, I don't show this when we go into Clo because it's a little bit hard to see the gathers. But what you could do is you could set, let's say, the strap width to 10. So you're gonna gather at a 2 times 2 ratio. So you're gonna gather that shoulder so it equals 5 centimeters in the end, and then this is essentially what you're gonna be left with, and you can just smooth out this line. And you're gonna gather this so it's 5 centimeters at the end. I hope that makes sense. So you're gonna use one side, the strap width is gonna be 10, and the other side, the strap width is gonna be 5, because we see that we have gathers on the left side and no gathers on the right side. So this is what you'll end up with. Like I said, if the line is kicking out, for example, you could just smooth that over and draw through it. Very, very light pattern cutting. Yes, so the second part of this, and this is the second part that's light pattern cutting, is it looks like there's a piece here that's attaching. So I don't know what the construction is, but it looks like we're attaching this middle piece to kind of resolve the tension. I tried doing a method where I did kind of like a bandeau behind and attached it at the side seams, but the tension was a little bit wonky. But that's also something you could try and experiment with. For now, what I did was I just drew a little triangle piece and then you're essentially going to cut on the fold here, and then you're going to just slide that triangle piece. You might have a little bit of a tricky situation with this sharp corner, but you can smooth that out if you need to. For example, just to make it easier to sew. So just adding in a little line there, and color. You're basically color blocking. So that is our front panel, and all the leotards should, in theory, fit together. So just to go over the pattern options, I kept the armhole side seam length percentage at optional, which I think is 0% because it's right at that bust line, and I put the leg hole height at 90%. It's going to be very important to match these pattern options because we're now going to use another tool to make the back piece. So we are going to use the open back leotard pattern for the rest. So I used a Missy Curvy size 6. I put centimeters, so I'm matching my options as closely as possible. Contour coverage, I'm using Gape Fix. Everything else is the same because it's the same measurements. And then when it comes to the pattern options, you can adjust these options if you want. Open back depth, open back end. You want to match the armhole side seam length, which is just keep it at optional. Leg hole height percentage, that's 90, so we want to match that. And then the strap width at 5 centimeters, we want to match it. So everything ends up coming out to basically the same thing. So our side seams are going to be trued together, they're going to work. And yeah, so we're using this front piece with this back piece, and this is 5 centimeters, this is 5 centimeters, so everything is going to connect properly, and then the side seams are going to match. And then we have the contour coverage on our back pieces, so we have that same coverage for both pieces. Okay, so that is the front and the back piece. Let's hop into Clo before I hop into the skirt. So I'm gonna archive the skirt now. I cut the pieces, which you wouldn't have to do depending on how you want to install the skirt. You can have this all at one piece. And when I installed the skirt, I actually lowered down the waistline a little bit, mainly because of a mistake, but it's okay. We'll get into the skirt tool in a sec. All right, so we see this is the open back, and it fits seamlessly it fits at the side seams, and it fits at the shoulder seam. And then we see this middle piece there. So like I mentioned, you can do the left shoulder at 10 and then just 10 centimeters and like gather it so that it equals 5 centimeters. So you have that beautiful gathered effect. I'm trying to think if you wanted to overlap the pieces. Okay, let's not get too complicated. We're gonna keep it simple for now. Okay, so that is the main piece. Now let's go into our skirt piece. So this is the back of our skirt that we want to attach, and this is kind of what we're looking for in the front. So we are going to use the asymmetrical skirt tool. So first thing is, if we want those gathers it depends on how we're going to construct. So if we want gathers at the side seam, for example, we're going to go back into Clo. So 15.04 is where we're going to attach those gathers. So I multiply it by 2 and we get, I'm doing a rough math. So we're doing 30 centimeters for the side seam. And that will be so the A-line skirt tool. So I'm gonna match my right side seam height and my left side seam height. So the 30 centimeters, we're gonna gather that because we're taking 15 and we're just multiplying it by 2. So we have some gathers. I'm adjusting the flare to 100%, so there's a bit more movement. I put narrow tail instead of full tail. And then the important part here is the waist. So if we just want our skirt to attach in the back and we're gonna attach it at the side seams, we're gonna take this measurement here, so 16.74, we're gonna multiply it by 4. And that's it. We're gonna apply 0 negative ease. So 16.74 times 4, 66.96. So we're gonna go 66.96. We're gonna keep all this the same. Right side seam is gonna equal left side seam, and I'm putting 0 for now, and 0 for our negative ease percentage. And then this is what we end up with. So when we install that skirt, we're gonna see we have the gathers at the side seam. So we see this is 30 centimeters and this is 15.04. So we're gathering this side seam to equal 15.04. Chloe isn't like the best at like showing like the drape unless we're doing a render, but we can see that there are gathers here. And then we're sewing and attaching at the waist. And then we have nice coverage in the back. So if you wanted to, I did it 30 and 30. It's like 31. But if you wanted more, let's say more length in the back, you could do 30 and then, what is this? 50. That's high. But if you wanted to, if you were going for that, it's kind of ugly. If you wanted to give a bit more length in the back, you can. So this is, I added a bit more, 40. So 30 and 40, I don't think that looks good, but let's put it back to 30 and 30. Maybe if you wanted to do, let's say 35. That's okay. Okay, so that is, you know, our gathers at the side seam. Let's say you didn't want to do gathers at the side seam, and so it depends on how you're constructing, right? So let's remove. Oh my gosh, let's remove those sewing lines. Let's say we wanted it to just drape. So we see where it was attached, where the skirt is attached. So if you wanted it more in the back, so this is now going to be your design choice, depending on how you want the skirt to flow. Let me show you another option. And this is where the skirt attaches partly in the front. I only put 4 centimeters in the front. I didn't put a lot. So we see that we're not attached to the side seams. So the side seams are there. And we did 20.45 at the side seams and what is this here? 30 in the back. And this has a really beautiful shape. So you can make the skirt come even more forward. So what you'll do is you'll take 16.74 plus, let's say we want it to overlap 4 centimeters in the front. So that will be 20.74. We'll multiply that by 4. Is that right? And then we'll get 20.74. Okay, so let me simplify this. Okay, 16.74. That is our half piece where we're cutting times plus, let's say we wanted to go 5 centimeters in the front or 6 centimeters in the front. Let's say 8. We're gonna multiply that by 4. And that's 98.96. So for our waist, we're gonna put 98.96. And what did I do here? This is 30 and 20. So we are gonna go the right seam. We're gonna go 30 and 20. Yeah, so our cut on the fold is going to be 30 and we're 20 at the side seam, and then you're going to sew the skirt on the back piece up until we said 8 centimeters, and then this 8 centimeters is going to continue to be sewn onto your front piece. So you see how I cut the Leo in the front, so you can just attach everything. Only caveat with all of this is you might need to add seam allowance, depending on, you know, what you're doing. If you're adding the skirt, you can, if you really want to do the minimum pattern cutting, and you want to do exactly all of this, you could use the open back halter top pattern with the dance brief bottoms, just for the seam allowance, and then the bra top. Let me show you that really quickly, not to make this video too long. But this is all if you don't want to use seam allowance. If you don't want to add the seam allowance in and you just need the pieces to be as close to ready as possible. So you would do, let's do the dance, the bra top pattern. So do Missy Curvy size 6 centimeters. Distance below the bust radius, we're going to max that out because we want it to go to the waist, let's say. Strap width, we're going with 5. And then let's do a -15. And then we'll put in our seam allowance. Oops. And see what happens. Right, so you're ready to go here. So you'd have your front piece with seam allowance ready to go, but then you would have to go in and cut that triangle piece, which isn't too complicated. You can steal the seam allowance from here, but then you would have to draw in the seam allowance on a pattern paper. And then we would use the dance brief bottom. So we would go into our integration key, and then we'd find the total waistband length, which is 59.35, and we'd plug that in. So I'm gonna go Missy Curvy size 6, and then contour coverage. And then for the waist, we'd go 59.35. Yes, 59.35. 0.64, 0.64, 12. Actually, what you would need to do, not to make it more complicated, but you would have to go 59.35 plus 12%. So 66.47. But I think that is what the Missy Curvy size 6 is, because this is going to apply negative ease. Okay, what was our calculator telling us? 66.47. And think of that until now. 0.64, 12, like whole height, we're going 90. So we have our dance bottom that's gonna fit with our top piece, and then with our asymmetrical skirt, we are going to take that back waistband length, depending on how you want to fit it. So we do 14.71 times 4. 58.84. And then we'd plug that in to our asymmetrical skirt tool. So, then we'd add our seam allowance. I hope this makes sense. If it's not making sense, leave a comment down below with questions because I sometimes overcomplicate in my explanation. But this is just to show you like two different ways if you really don't want to do any pattern cutting and you need things to just have seam allowance and work like right out the bat. You'll need to do a little bit of math to make the tools work together and fit. I didn't even think of that until now about the dance bottom and the top, that you'll just need to add it back in the negative ease so that it gets subtracted again. But it wasn't too bad using a calculator. 66 plus or 58 plus 12% and or whatever your seam allowance is going to be. So just a reminder, this was what we were going for, and then this is, you know, our end result, which is fairly close. So a lot you can do with the tools. If you wanted to just start with a block, you could just do all of this from a block as well. It's a bit more time consuming, so I didn't get into it, but I would the drafting from a block, but you would be basically just adding those design lines and then calling it a day. All right, hopefully this helped. Leave comments down below. Look forward to seeing what you sew.